We all have stories. Stories inspired by culture, competition, creativity. Stories show our humanity. They inspire us to greatness and remind us to be humble. Stories connect us to our communities and the rest of the world. We are the Chutta people, and these are our stories. See and share them at togetherwe'remore.com.
People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Through the Keyhole. It's an Oklahoma football podcast. How is everybody doing out there in podcast and or internet land? I hope you're doing well, whatever you are doing. And thank you for listening to the show. I'm Brady Trantham. I am joined by one Matt Burton. Matt, say something.
Hello, how are we doing?
We are doing well, I hope. And one Mr. Peyton Guthrie with a well-groomed mustache. How are we doing?
Doing extremely well.
Very well.
Got some good basketball to watch this week. Yeah.
Yes. We'll get to that in just a few moments. No Alan Kenny tonight. He's going to be he's busy for the time being. So 3 of the 4 horsemen for you tonight. We want to thank Kaizen Performance Gym, like we always do. Thank you to the best gym in Moore, Norman, Oklahoma City. Would probably be the best gym if you transported it to Hoboken, New Jersey as well. I mean, I'd have no doubt that would be the case. And then, of course, the title sponsor, the Choctaw Nation, togetherwe'remore.com. Real quick, Peyton, did you listen to last week's episode? If you did not, do not worry. We won't judge you. But did you listen to the first minutes?
No, I did not.
Okay. You might want to go listen to it. I characterized your job at the Choctaw Nation as your adult job, and then I heard Alan giggle, and I realized that what I said sounded like something else, and then I quickly rebounded, which is something Chet Holmgren didn't do. Oh, Chet got wrecked
by
the
good.
French guy. Oh, real quick before we get there, Peyton, he got wrecked. Patreon, go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/throughthekeyhole. Peyton put out the first of his summer conditioning. Is that what you're still calling it, Peyton?
I think it's summer preview, but summer conditioning style stuff. Yeah, it's more like a vibe check with all these teams coming up. I mean, we had UTEP yesterday with Steve Helwick of Underdog Nation, and it's a little more. We're not really breaking down of like how often are they going to run off left tackle or something. It's more just a general. How's this team doing? What's going on? I had some interesting stuff I learned about UTEP. Go check it out. Quick 15 minutes, just kind of get a general pulse check.
Can you see Juarez from your house? Those are the questions that could potentially be answered on this podcast. But there's that on our Patreon that you can go listen to. And then more episodes and more previews of OU scheduled to come from one Peyton Guthrie. So we look forward to that. And again, you don't have to donate a damn cent for the first month. If you do not want to, you can try it out. And if you enjoy it, then you can keep it on with us. And we would greatly appreciate that. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, like I mentioned. And if you haven't already, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Greatly appreciate that. You know what it might have done if you're sitting over there and you're sad that your favorite basketball team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, are not playing basketball anymore. You have no one to blame but yourself if you've not left us a 5-star rating and review. That 5-star rating and review could have started a chain reaction, which could have allowed Chet Holmgren to, instead of passing up a wide open look on the perimeter and passing it to Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams, the taller one, perhaps he would have taken the shot. Perhaps other things might have transpired. But you know what? We're never going to know because you didn't leave that 5-star rating and review. So do yourself a favor, do it right now, and get ahead of Oklahoma City's march back to the Western Conference Finals or the finals next year, because there's always next year. But with that said, Matt, you are the loser here. Apologies. And you know what? I truly felt for you And not to sit here and
Hey,
say that you're like
Duke lost in March. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is old news.
Well, okay. So I mentioned this last week. Friend of the show, Bomani Jones. Have you heard what have you been abreast of what he's characterized the Oklahoma City Thunder?
Yeah, Duke. Yeah.
Yeah, the Oklahoma City Blue Devils. Does that tickle your fancy? Do you enjoy that? Or are you like, hey, that's an insult? That's an insult,
right?
Yeah, I'm in the
Well, yeah,
process of framing that tweet that Bomoni had. Yes. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So everybody's happy. But
just
not
make
to sit
that
here and
Grayson Allen trade.
Oh yeah, like I guess insert white American player here. I guess that's what Bomani thinks Oklahoma City should just have. Whatevs. And I mean, not to say, Matt, that you are, a card-carrying Thunder cheerleader or anything, but I truly felt for you because I knew you were at a wedding that night because the Thunder got beat in Game 6. The first person I thought of when I was watching that game was, oh, poor Matt. Because not only are you not able to enjoy a Game 7 in Oklahoma City, you weren't going to be able to enjoy either a successful post-game show on the franchise or a sad, like, end of season, basically, post-game show on the franchise. So the floor is yours, Matt, to vent, to cry, to tell Peyton that the Spurs are going to win in 3, perhaps probably the first time in NBA history that a team has won in less than 4 games for a championship. We look forward to that with great interest. But again, Matt, go ahead and vent.
Yeah, I was at my brother-in-law's wedding on Saturday, so was dancing, enjoying, drinking, enjoying, celebrating them two. And yeah, I mean, someone earlier today on our show was like, he was giving me shit. He was like, we're not buying it that you didn't watch the game. I was like, I truthfully didn't, man. Like I was enjoying my family and wedding celebration. But yeah, I mean, the game was on in the groomsmen suite. So, I mean, every now and then when I went to the bathroom or something, I'd pop my head in, check the score. That was really it. I didn't sit down and watch for like any extended periods of time. But yeah, man, it's full credit to the Spurs, man. I picked the Thunder in 7 to start the series, and that was literally just because of the experience. I was like, I got to see the Spurs do it before I like actually picked them, but I was very confident in it going 7 games. It did, and man, like I said, I wish you could have seen healthy teams on both sides, because the first however many games Fox wasn't there, Dylan Harper was dealing with stuff. And then it became very apparent when like Dylan Harper was feeling good again because he was awesome in the series. But I mean, that's a great team, and everyone's just like ragging on the Thunder. I'm like, dude, the Spurs just kind of went out there and took it, man. Like they are a really damn good team.
Yeah, like we live in an era where even like the Thunder won a championship last year, and most people don't like it. And that's not to say, oh, no one likes the Thunder. The Charlotte Bobcats could have won a title. The Charlotte Hornets, I should say. But the Charlotte Bobcats could come back from the mid-2000s, win a championship in an undefeated year, and you'd still have 14-year-olds on Twitter saying they suck, asterisk. Right. It's just we just live in that time now. Where,
like you can't help that people get injured. You can't help that. Like,
yeah, the Spurs are writing like a nice little like what the Thunder kind of experienced a few years ago, and even going into their first year as the number 1 seed before they lost to Dallas, where everyone's like, oh, this is such a great story about rebuilding the right way. They tanked when they had to, and then they turned it off. And now look at them. This is how you do it in a small market. And then they got too successful too quickly. And then it's like, well, fuck them. So when the Spurs win this championship, everyone's going to hate them next year, just like everyone hated the Thunder for the last year and a half. So, I mean, Spurs fans, including Peyton, like enjoy the rainbow road that you're riding on right now. So yeah, like people dogging the Thunder, but hey, they lost their first Game 7 at home in Thunder franchise history. And so you don't get the benefit of roses being thrown at you. There will be time for that, and we can maybe get to that in just a few minutes. But Peyton, as the victor, did you find yourself on Saturday refusing to carry the burdens of having to hide your emotions?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, this series was 2 heavyweight teams who refused to back down, right? I mean, they both play a very physical brand of basketball. you know, I had a lot of, obviously surrounded by a bunch of Oklahoma City Thunder fans, everything being like, hey, we're physical, but you guys are like cheating or whatever. I was like, it's basketball. I mean, if McCain's going to like push Castle after he got beat and like cause Castle to crash into the photographer, I mean, it's just like they all did. I mean, they all played tough. They all played hard basketball. It's just I don't want to shy away from the physicality of the sport, especially playoff basketball. I think it's something that's honestly the NBA has been missing for quite some time. The games didn't feel like the players like cared, to a certain degree at times. So I mean, I enjoyed watching it. I think it was really good overall. The Thunder were just banged up, and eventually they took all their shots they had, and the Spurs were able to withstand it. And the Spurs are way ahead of schedule, in my personal opinion. So I for one accept it. This will probably be the worst this team will be for a while. And there's just growth from then on. Dylan Harper is just a stud. Castle's a stud. Wemby's obviously a stud, and they'll be able to build this team out. They got a lot of cap space on that side. So the only thing that was bad was just the discourse around it, I guess. And I get it. I do think there's some overarching Oklahoma fandom that bleeds into all this. I only experienced that from the OU side where, when Oklahoma left for the SEC and Lincoln Riley left, there was a bunch of stuff like Oklahoma's dead. Finally, they're gone. And I think a lot of Oklahoma City Thunder fans also internalized that because there's a lot of people like, everyone's cheering. Everyone's so happy that we lost. It's like, yeah, because you guys just won. You have a 2-time defending MVP. You just won a title. You know what I mean? It's like maybe Oklahoma sports fans in general just aren't used to being the bully in a while, right? And Oklahoma City was the bully for the last 2 years, and like to Shea's credit, in Game 7, he only did one thing that I pointed and said, yeah, okay, I never want to see that again. The rest of the game, he just played. I mean, I don't know. It was an interesting way to do it. It's interesting series back and forth, and I think just the Thunder were banged up, and I don't expect them to do anything crazy in this offseason. Just sign the people you got to sign and get better on the margins, and then maybe press the shoot better next time button and then go from there. But where it comes for the Spurs, yeah, I mean, we got a finals game to go against a team that is drastically different than the Thunder. And we're going to see if Styles makes fight, because I honestly think how the Knicks play offense will give the Spurs quite a bit of trouble as opposed to what the Thunder like to do and try to do. I think the Thunder's best offense kind of played directly into what the Spurs do best defensively, and the Knicks are kind of the opposite of that. So we'll be watching Wemby kind of chase some guys around on the 3-point line, and that will cause me a lot of heartache.
Matt, is Landry Shamet still shooting 92% from the 3-point line?
Dude, he
cooled down.
It.
Yeah.
He was feeling it. Well, the Knicks haven't played in a while, so they've been resting for a minute.
Well, if that continues, I think Peyton's right. Like they play a style of basketball that when they're on, it could, in theory, present the Spurs some problems that they'll have to figure out in the series. I don't anticipate that happening though, because the Knicks' best player is my height. And if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had problems getting into the lane because of the 8-foot-tall, weird-looking tall guy, Jalen Brunson, I'm sorry. She's like, you're good, but so is Shai. And it's, oh boy. No, Matt, real quick. Either tell Peyton he's correct, tell Peyton he's wrong, y'all fight.
No, I mean, he's correct. He's correct, dude. I think the Spurs go and win the damn thing, honestly. I don't know. It was a great series from the Spurs. It was like, especially Game 7. I was like, that was the first time where I was like, man, the Thunder are kind of getting outworked, like out physical, out like they're getting outperformed in the margins, like of all the little things. The Thunder usually do that like so well. That's like kind of what separates them from everyone. But I mean, the Spurs, Stephon Castle crashing the offensive glass, just doing whatever it takes. Dylan Harper hitting some big time shots. And, Peyton and I were talking about this before we went live, but it just felt like every single time the Thunder got even like 1 ounce of momentum, it was immediately back to Spurs direction. Like, I mean, I think the Thunder got up 4, like right before the end of the first half, and boom, Spurs went on a 7-0 run, and they're up 3 at the end of the half. And it was constantly like that. The Thunder were just constantly chasing in Game 7, and man, hey, like, want to like give credit to Devin Vassell, Champagnie, all those guys, because the Thunder had to live. I think especially after Game 1, the Thunder had to make the decision of like, okay, we cannot keep letting Wemby just roll with one guy on him and one guard on him at times to the basket, because that's just an easy dunk. They'll just throw it up and dunk it. So we're going to have to bet that Champagnie and Vassell and these guys aren't going to beat us, and we're just going to have to live with that. That's going to have to be what it is, because basically from Game 2 on, it was, all right, 2 guys are crashing Wemby whenever he sets a screen and is rolling to the basket, and Champagnie, Vassell, Keldon Johnson, these guys are wide ass open, and man, these guys get paid millions of dollars to put the ball in the basket. If you keep leaving them wide open, it's going to burn you at some point, and just so happened to start burning them. But dude, yeah, I like the Spurs. I don't know how many games, like the Knicks played them pretty well in the regular season, the NBA Cup, but I don't know. I like the Spurs, man. They just get after you defensively, especially on the perimeter, and then you got the 8-foot freak waiting on you if you somehow make it past that. So defense to me is it was kind of like looking at the Thunder, of the past 2 years. Is like looking in a mirror almost, except they also have Wemby, so like that's, it just puts them a little bit over the top. So yeah, I like Spurs to win the title, and that's really effing scary for the rest of the league.
Yeah, and I'll just remind everybody, not that I need to remind really anybody, but just as a friendly reminder, when the Nuggets won the title in 2023, all the offseason discourse was the Nuggets are about to win like the next few titles.
Yeah.
When the Thunder won it last year, we were all reminded, for the next few weeks, how young the Thunder are. And they still are one of the youngest teams in the league. And now the Spurs beat the Thunder. They've not even won a championship yet. Technically, I am going to pick them to win it very quickly in this series. And when they ultimately do, we're going to be reminded that the Spurs are going to win the next 4 or 5 championships. But everybody is trying to get better. Everybody is already trying to the Thunder had some success defending Wembanyama as much as you possibly can. Can you replicate that with your roster? Like, that's what everyone's going to do. And the Thunder were fortunate from a health standpoint last season, not in the regular season, because Chet missed 50 games in the regular season, but they were fortunate in the postseason. And the Thunder still beat. I'm tired of seeing that dumb sentence. If Halliburton doesn't get hurt, the Pacers wouldn't. No, they fucking wouldn't. Lou Dort hit a 40-foot moonshot. The Thunder weren't losing. And that exact same example of role players just showing up is how the Spurs are in the finals and the Thunder aren't, because the Spurs' others showed up. Victor Wembanyama had a really good game. It was not an awesome Victor Wembanyama game. It was the exact kind of game that the Thunder, if they looked at they were told this is what Victor's going to have before the game started, they'd be like, yes, please. Like, we're going to hope and assume that Cason Wallace hits shots, Alex Caruso hits shots. They're, what those guys have been doing for much of the series. And those things didn't happen, partly because the Thunder were tired and partly because the Spurs forced the issue and defended the hell out of them. And that's why they're there. So, but Peyton, like, to me, like with the Spurs, I know it's kind of fun to sit here and say that this is the worst that they're going to be. And I'm not going to sit here and suggest that there's no way for them to get any better, but there really is nothing else more that they can do from like a strategy standpoint. They don't need to do much else. Like, Victor is going to get more experience. Dylan Harper is going to get more experience, of course, because he's a rookie. These guys are going to have more experience, but from a strategy standpoint, it's just going to be the same. And that's what's going to be the challenge, even for San Antonio moving forward, probably as the defending champions next year, Peyton, is that, well, now teams know what to do, at least on paper, to try and slow down San Antonio. Can that be replicated? the Spurs learned from just the Lakers in the previous round, like throw a double at Shea and ask everybody else to beat you. And it didn't work for the Lakers. It almost didn't work for the Spurs, but they're in the finals and the Thunder aren't. So to me, it's just interesting how the conversation immediately goes to like 5 years down the road when we haven't even got to the finish line of this season yet, because the Spurs are still growing, but the entire league is going to grow around them as well.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I was talking to, Matt and I were talking before the thing where here's my take. If Wemby does not get any better skill wise and all he does is get more consistent, he's the best player in the world. If Wemby does learn how to pass out of the double and gets a mid-range game, he's the best player in the world. I mean, I don't think he needs to do much just to be the best player in the world. It may, obviously I'm a Spurs fan, so I'm a little jaded there. I don't think rookie Dylan Harper will be. I guess you're saying from a strategy side, that is player availability on that. If the Spurs sign a power forward who can shoot threes, then the strategy changes a lot. It becomes very difficult to beat them all of a sudden. Not like a Champagny who's 6'8", 217 as their starting power forward. I mean, what if they get like an actual power forward? I mean, then it's like, okay, well, great. Now what do we do? We're screwed. They have a lot of room on the cap to make some moves, because I truly think even for a finals team, this is a really unbalanced roster that has an ability to be upgraded very easily. And I think that is maybe more of the, okay, here we go. Like the Nuggets, they had already made moves to upgrade their roster, and that's how they won it. And then it become, can we keep all these guys paid? And obviously you can't. But the guys that the Spurs want to hold on to, one's going to be on a max and the other two are going to be on rookie deals for the next 4 years. I mean, it's just, it then just becomes, can you make the right moves around those guys? And can people just get healthy, right? I mean, stay healthy, right? I mean, I get that from that perspective. And I mean, if I'm going to be a big Thunder fan, big Thunder hater, I'm not just pointing at Game 7 Indiana. I'm looking at Game 7 in the conference semifinals, right? Aaron Gordon had to go down to win that. It's injuries had plagued the last 8 champions, the last 8 playoffs or whatever in the NBA for a big thing. And you play the team that's in front of you, and that's that, right? I mean, you play the team in front of you and you beat the team in front of you and you win your championship, or you lose your championship. That there's nothing you can do about it. But I don't like it when, like, it's one thing for me to say as the victor, Oklahoma City, you're banged up. You've got a chance. If everyone's healthy, you're probably right back in the same situation next year. That said, might not happen, right? Dub could completely plateau. They might lose a couple of guys. Alex Caruso stops being Captain Chaos, something like that. You play the people in front of you and go from there. Victor's, he gets tired in the second quarter. I mean, maybe he tears an ACL. I mean, anything could happen, right? And you're not back there. Or like you said, they just get beat. Maybe the Nuggets, maybe the Timberwolves, who were down a player they really needed, could have beaten the Spurs this year in the playoffs, right? I mean, but they didn't have that guy and they didn't. So I don't really try to think about who was on court and who wasn't on court. And I don't think it really matters from that perspective, because it's really easy to say, well, what about this team and what about that team? They didn't play the players on the court and all that kind of stuff. And it's just tough. It's just tough on that side. But is there a guarantee the Spurs will keep going to the right and up? No, there's not. Would I bet they will have some sort of incremental improvement? I would put money on that. I mean, as not a betting man, but I would put money on that.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know the Thunder beat that Nuggets team by like 50 in the Game 7. I get that. No, Aaron Gordon's not going to change that. But I think maybe the outcome of the structure of that game might be different.
I'm sure the structure would have been different. I mean, where I just kind of I hand wave that talking point last year, because Aaron Gordon's not a fucking star. He's a very good player and important for Denver, but not having Jalen Williams is different than not having Aaron Gordon. Jalen Williams is an all-NBA
for sure
player and an all-NBA defender. And he dropped, what, did he have 40 in a finals game last year, Matt? Am I remembering that correctly? Yeah. Aaron Gordon's not doing that. Like, Aaron Gordon's just like, a hot game for him is he hits 6 threes, which he's capable of, and it makes it tougher to beat Denver if that be the case. But if the Thunder had Jalen Williams and they didn't have Alex Caruso this series, like if he was just out the whole time, and the Thunder fans are saying like, "Oh, we didn't have Caruso," like that affects it. But my man, like the Stars win the game. Stars win the game. Shea damn near won it by himself for the most part until Casey Wallace started hitting threes. So, but my last thing though, like in terms of like projecting out, this might be new for Spurs fans to experience because they're so used, like Spurs fans that are your age, Peyton, you guys are so used to the beautiful game, the Tim Duncan era, the selflessness, the great teammates that played well with each other. Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle. I'm not guessing that this will happen. I would not be shocked if someone came down and showed me a crystal ball and said 5-6 years from now, and one of them is on a different team because they wanted to run their own team. I would not be shocked if that happened.
Yeah, for sure.
The difference, like with Oklahoma City, and might sound insulting, Matt. I think Jalen Williams is like, he's obviously when he's healthy, he's an all-star. I see him more like he is a perfect Scottie Pippen comp. He is perfectly fine with his role. I don't know about Dylan Harper mostly because he's a rookie and he could very well just be the next in line of like Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili for all I know. But because they're going to be successful so quickly, that hurt the Thunder with the Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook era. Like them getting to the Western Conference Finals in 2011 because the Spurs got beat by the Grizzlies in the first round, really sped up the clock, and Presti and the ownership and the team, I don't think was necessarily ready for that much success that quickly. And it led to a snowball effect that eventually saw that team disintegrate without a title. But that's too far ahead of ourselves. And this is an Oklahoma football podcast. Do you guys have it?
I do want to be a hater very quickly. So you kind of got my Brussels up a little bit. Game 1, you had JW, you had Mitchell, and you got your ass kicked. So like whatever.
They got their ass kicked in game 1.
Yeah. If another team beats you and you let a guy get 40-20, you got your ass whipped. I get it's second overtime or whatever, but Wemby said, dude, I took their manhood from that game.
These are two of the best teams in the world going against each other. And the Thunder damn near stole the game, and Jalen Williams misses a 3 to ice it.
You don't steal a game if you're the higher seed and it's on your court game 1.
Yeah, well, the Spurs are fucking good. They won 62 games. Like, the Spurs are good. And then Victor Wembanyama, like he said, they damn near swept the Thunder in the regular season. They should have. This had 7 written all over it, like Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. This was 7 from day 1. And I mean, I don't know. Like, I want the Thunder to essentially carry their same team into next year. And I want the Spurs to carry their same team into next year as well. I want them to basically have the same rosters for the next 5 years. I want to see more of this. Like, it was so fun to watch as just like, I'll lean Oklahoma City because I'm Oklahoman and I want to see Oklahoma do well. But as a neutral observer, it was like, I want to see 10, I want to see 11 of these damn games. And unfortunately now we have to settle for the fucking Knicks. Oh, well. So Vosspers, Va, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it's Oklahoma, it's football. And guys, we're still in the depths of hell when it comes to OU football. A lot of the news surrounding the Sooners has to do with recruiting. But Gabe Osborne committed to OU verbally yesterday. That's huge. OU now has the top 3 top 3 players in the state. Cooper Hackett, Caden Penny, the offensive lineman. Cooper Hackett's a 5-star. Caden Penny's a 5-star, I think, on one of the services. Gabriel Osborne's a 4-star on both services. Would not be surprised if he jumps up to a 5-star. So for the most part, OU's recruiting class 2027, very good. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. Did want to mention, because we were going to go somewhere with this, but OU baseball into the Super Regionals, where they will play Kansas in the Lawrence Super Regional this weekend. I believe the first game's at 5 or at 6 o'clock on Friday, excuse me. Game 2 Saturday, same time. And then if there's a game 3, it'll be on Sunday. So OU baseball is 2 wins away from potentially playing in Omaha in the College World Series. So that's great. That's fun. And they did it thanks in large part, in only part, but in large part, to Dayton Taki's walk-off home run in extra innings to beat the number 2 team in the country, Georgia Tech, in Atlanta, and the number 1 offense in the country. Georgia Tech was loaded, and OU beat them twice when they had do or die in both situations on Sunday and Monday. So awesome for Skip Johnson, but it got me thinking. I wrote this on Sooners on SI earlier today, so I let the boys know ahead of time. Got me thinking of some of the more fun, more exciting, more memorable moments where OU in any sport essentially wins the game as time expires. And on the story I wrote for Sooners on SI, I gave myself like a rule. I couldn't use plays that basically won the game, but there was still time left on the clock, even if it was just a few seconds. So that mainly meant like Kennedy Brooks's touchdown against Texas in 2021 doesn't count because there's 3 seconds left on the clock. But I'm not giving that rule up to this discussion. Matt, it doesn't matter the sport, baseball, softball, men's basketball, women's basketball, football, does not matter. I found examples for all of them in that story. Is there anything that just jumps out to you initially when you think of buzzer beater, walk-off moment, game-winning score, field goal, or touchdown in football when it concerns OU sports?
The first one that popped in my mind was Brennan Clay walking it off in Bedlam in overtime, I believe in Norman, 2014? 2012, somewhere around there. But yeah, that was the first one that came to my mind. Another one, this would have had to have been 2017, sorry, Rodney Anderson. Didn't necessarily walk it off. I think there was still time left on the clock, but against Kansas State, I think that was in Manhattan. But yeah, had a last second touchdown run there. And then obviously the Kennedy Brooks one and Red River, but again, still time left on.
Yeah. Because even like the kick against Ohio State, 1977, I think, when OU went up to Columbus and won, and that's one of the more iconic moments in OU football lore is the kick. But there was still a handful of seconds left, and OU kicked off, and I think Ohio State was able to run a play or two. So there was like 20 or 30 seconds left on the clock. I can't remember. But again, like you can still count that in this discussion if you wanted to, but it's really surprising that they're just, I looked it up, and unless Sooner Stats doesn't have everything, there's literally only one example where in regulation, mind you, not overtime, but in regulation where OU literally kicks or scores a walk-off like touchdown or field goal. And Peyton, do you remember what it is? Because it's recent.
I have no clue on this.
I'll give you a clue. He punted a burrito and was doomed by the taco gods for all eternity.
Yes.
It's Gabe Burkich against West Virginia in 2021. It was the game where Spencer Rattler got booed by the home crowd.
Yes.
Yeah, it was 26-yard field goal. So there was like no drama to it. Because at that point, Gabe Burkich was still like awesome. He had yet to suck at that point. Right. But there was no drama to it because it was a chip shot and he kicked it as like with 1 second left, time expired, and it was like, oh, the game's over. It's like, okay. But there isn't that
Caleb game. That's what everyone remembers from that. They don't remember anything else about that.
Peyton, do you remember where you were that game? I think you might have been at the game with me, or at least at the tailgate.
I think we're at the tailgate. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're at the tailgate.
Yeah, that was a that was such a weird week to discuss OU football. That was like early Keyhole days when Keegan was the co-host with me, and then Spencer Rattler's just meltdown in the media as a result. It's like, I get it, but that was the first year that the players got paid, and it's like, sorry, you can't be a pissant about it anymore and say that you're a kid. It's like the fans
That's when he had the logo and everything, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
But that's the the only example that I could find of a literal walk-off winner in football. But I mean, Peyton Kennedy Brooks' touchdown with 3 seconds left. I mean, that's a play that if you're playing a sport, if you're playing football, that's what you dream of, is literally scoring a touchdown to win a big game as time expires. And it's so hard and rare to do situationally in football anyway. But the way that it happened, I remember it live, and I thought that the game was over at that point. And there was like 2 or 3 seconds left. So we're counting it for this one, but that was it's such a special moment in a program with over 100 years of greatness to its name. And yet that one truly stands above a lot of these other examples you could probably think of in terms of football winners.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. If Oklahoma's winning games, they usually win
handily.
Yeah, convincingly. There's, it's very rarely, you get like the Tennessee game with the Baker stuff, and you get some overtime games and things like that. But that doesn't necessarily have the same feel to it. I know it's not a walk-off, obviously, in the very narrow definition of some of that stuff you talked about, but was it a safety? The safety in 2018, the Big 12 championship, basically sealed the game, right?
Against Texas.
Sealed the game. It wasn't obviously a walk-off. Oklahoma wasn't losing at that point in time, but that basically nailed it shut. Like, we are done here now. Okay, with Trey Brown tackling with no arms, just ran into him like a toddler. It's just, that stuff. It's hard to find. Oklahoma has a lot of stuff like that where they put somebody away, right? Very rarely are they in that last second mode. Okay, let's go. I mean, obviously, let's see if you guys are in the same realm. It involves, this is OU. OU is not the winner. The most famous football walk-off scorer in an OU game history. You guys are in my same head.
What would it be?
Play involves 2 potential household items.
Oh,
against
God,
a team that wore orange and blue.
Yeah. I was actually explaining to my wife about that, like when I was explaining to her the story.
No, they won on the Statue of Liberty, didn't they? Not the hook and ladder. Hook and ladder forced overtime. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But so that game, like, just checks so many boxes for so many reasons. And if you're an OU fan, it really sucks. But being down like they were, and then having that furious comeback to just tie it, and then with like 30 seconds left, Jared Zabransky just throws an interception directly to Marcus Walker, who just houses it in an untouched, 25, 30 yards, whatever it was. 9 zillion times out of 9 zillion and one, it's game over. And yet that was the night where that one example was going to take place, because Boise State didn't win the game in regulation. They had to tie it again. And then OU scores on their first play in overtime, which is Adrian Peterson's last play as an Oklahoma Sooner. It was a 25-yard touchdown run, where that's like, I remember Boise State's defense in that moment looking like, we can't tackle this guy anymore. We can't. We've held him back all night. Please do something on off. We cannot stop this Terminator anymore. 1986 Nebraska, similar to the 77 Ohio State game. Was that and thank you, Winter Caretaker, was that the year Nebraska wore like the all red outfit, like the red pants and the red jersey? And
that is
Keith Jackson.
That is
Keith Jackson had the one-handed like 40-yard catch down the sideline to set up Tim Lasher's field goal to win the game.
Yep.
There was cool. Good job.
6 seconds to go on that one. Yeah, I brought that really quickly. That is an ugly Nebraska look. And that's back when OU's uniform helmets look like Texas A&M helmets.
Oh, yeah. The maroon look.
They had like that. It's more of a maroon color. Yeah.
Yeah. There wasn't, gloss hadn't been invented yet. Shininess hadn't yet to be invented. It was a dark time in the 80s. There's like a weird scheduling snafu. I think OU played Nebraska in Lincoln again in 1987. If I remember the schedule, I wasn't alive yet, but I've seen that OU played Nebraska in Lincoln twice in a row in the 80s, I believe. I could be wrong, but yeah, there's that. Gosh, there has to be like some other like near closeouts in football that I just cannot remember right now. Boy, can't remember. I mean, like in basketball, like Matt, you had mentioned Buddy Hield's near game winner against West Virginia in the Big 12 semis, in the Big 12 tournament. Like that's how you know Buddy Hield is such a universally loved character, universally loved player when it comes to his college resume, because I still see that play like clipped and shared by like college basketball accounts of like, how cool would this have been had it counted? I don't see that for anybody else. Like you didn't make it. Like you
didn't count.
It doesn't count, but it's Buddy Hield, man. Like he was so fun to watch his senior year.
Well, I was trying to. I couldn't remember if he hit one against LSU too. But
yeah, we found this out.
It was him, right? You said it was Isaiah Cousins.
Yes, Isaiah Cousins with an elbow jumper, with like 6 seconds to go, and then LSU got the ball back, and Kadeem Latin with the game-winning block to seal Oklahoma's. I think their 1 or 2 point win. Might have been a 1 point win. They were outplayed in the first half by Ben Simmons. Back when Ben Simmons was the next LeBron James. We've come a long way as a basketball community. There's also, I remember watching this as a kid, Drew Lavender with the sprint layup with seconds to go in Manhattan, back when OU used to beat Kansas State in Manhattan in basketball when Kelvin Sampson was the head coach. Drew Lavender hit the layup with, as time expired, somehow Kevin Bookout doesn't touch it as it's bouncing around the rim to, essentially negate the shot after the clock expired. Goes in, OU wins, they review it, they uphold the call, and then Kelvin and the team just like sprint off the floor as Kansas State fans are booing them. That was the final year that OU would win a regular season conference title, was 04-05. So it's been kind of a minute. For the softball fans out there, there's been, Peyton, you mentioned pregame. You mentioned the Clemson comeback to tie.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who it was. It Kinsey Hansen who tied
Kinsey,
it.
Yep. Last strike. OU had to keep the streak going.
Yeah, to keep the streak going, and then they get into extra innings, and then OU hits another home run to go ahead, and then Clemson it was the top of the inning, so Clemson had 3 more outs to try to tie or take the lead to win, and they were unable to. OU wins, goes to the Women's College World Series to win was that their final? No, that wasn't. That was their third of their 4-peat, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
they've won so damn many.
Yeah, to continue the winning streak. They've also had a lot of walk-offs. OU softball has, but it's been for like run rules. It's like to run rule the game. They walked off.
Yeah, I mean, man, like it's so bizarro world right now. I mean, OU baseball is keeping Oklahoma sports alive this deep into spring and early summer. The Thunder are done, but I mean, they went to the Western Conference Finals, so it's not like it's a failure of a season. And then OU softball, like, unfortunately, I have to say, kind of a failure of a season, considering how good they are, and to not even make the Women's College World Series. That's, I know they were up against it. There's so much pressure. I get that, but would have liked to at least been able to watch some more OU softball this far into the year. But anything else that you guys can remember?
I don't think so. Not for me.
Yeah, like it's just, I mean, Peyton hit the nail on the head at the beginning. Like when OU has won, they typically win convincingly. There's very little drama necessary, and it's usually just OU fans complaining about they didn't win by enough points. That's usually the discourse when it comes to this fan base, and it's a good place to be because the alternative is you're Oklahoma State and you just suck anyway. But them's the breaks. But yeah, let's get back to not necessarily recruiting specifically, but recruiting generally, because that's how we cover recruiting here at Through the Keyhole, is just from a 1,000-foot view perspective. Like we said, like everybody knows by now, Gabriel Osborne, 6'2", 6'3" cornerback out of Mustang, which is about a stone's throw from my house. committed to OU during their big summer recruiting weekend. I mean, it's a big weekend for OU football. The two or three recruits from the 26 class that weren't early enrollees. This is their first few days on campus with the team. So that's like Daniel Odom. Oh, who's the other kid from Oklahoma, Matt? I can't pronounce his the very African sounding name. I cannot remember.
Oh, Zizi Okufaleze, is that what you're talking about?
There you go. That
Okay.
one. Him and is his name LeBron? Like there's like LeBron something. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah. Sorry, in the 26 class, I can
Yeah.
get that. LeBron Bauer.
LeBron Bauer. Yeah. So those three are on campus. They're with the team now. So they'll start summer camp, summer conditioning, which begins this week, according to Brent Venables last week when he said summer workout, summer conditioning begins next week. So we have started the process, the slow march to SEC Media Day in July, and then ultimately to fall camp when the crazy train starts. But with Gabriel Osborne, Peyton, I'll start with you. I mean, we know what Oklahoma is as a recruiting base to the Sooner program. It's not Texas, it's not California, it's not Florida. I mean, everybody, no one is suggesting that it is, but Oklahoma does put out its fair share of talent. It puts out its fair share of talent, not just to OU, but it feels like in any given year, there's another program with a player from some small town, small high school in Oklahoma that plays well enough that you could sit there, watch them play for another program and say, that guy would look good in a Sooner uniform. Like you can't get them all, essentially. And considering where OU was during the Lincoln Riley era, where in his 5 recruiting classes, I believe he only got one player from the state of Oklahoma that was a top 40 nationally ranked player in a recruiting class cycle. And that was Justin Broyles. And again, I didn't really go back to see like how many players fit into that category, because for all I know, there weren't that many players to choose from that were that nationally highly rated coming out of high school from the state of Oklahoma. But I did some research about a year ago on this topic, and there were a few that OU just simply did not get. Kendall Daniels is one of those players, for example. He signed with Texas A&M on signing day, but then ended up at Oklahoma State, where he played until he transferred to OU. But Lincoln Riley just did not care that much for the state of Oklahoma. Since Brent Venables has been the head coach, though, that's been completely flipped. But Brent has also presided over the Sooner program when Oklahoma has put out quite a bit of in-state talent that a lot of people have wanted. So it's just kind of one of those things, like one of those positive luxuries that Brent Venables has that Lincoln Riley didn't necessarily have, if I recall correctly. So considering what Brent and now Jim Nagy have been doing with recruiting for OU, and even with the understanding, Peyton, that, yeah, like the 2024 season really hampered the recruiting momentum in terms of where Brent had kind of finished class-wise in his first few years, then 2026, but now projecting to 27, where they're, again, the number 1 recruiting class in the country, according to 24/7 Sports. It's really interesting to see that the state of Oklahoma, A, is playing a big part of it, and B, Brent and Jim Nagy are locking down the state when it does have talent that the Ohio States and the Michigans even want.
I think it's important to do this because you mentioned like the Lincoln Riley recruiting effort, which was basically go get as highly rated guys as you can and kind of go from there, right? We saw a lot of people do that. Pete Carroll used to do a lot, where you just kind of go get guys who go get compete and you kind of build your team out and stuff like that. I think Brent Venables had to do a very concerned effort to recruit the state of Oklahoma after a lot of those bridges had been burned with the previous regime, in order to get the, bear the fruits of that labor this recruiting class, right? I mean, if you're not recruiting Oklahoma kids for 4 years and then all of a sudden you start getting them, I think kids talk more than you think, or these players kind of know each other. And if you're not treating these guys right, you won't do that way. So like you kind of have to make room for some players, a preferred walk-on, maybe it's a 3-star guy that you think, to keep your foot in the door in certain schools and stuff like that. I mean, you have to maintain those relationships. That's one of the big differences between college football and NFL. The state of Oklahoma isn't always going to produce, extreme high-level talent like this, and you have to be able to, one, show them that you care, show them that you're going to take care of them, show them that you value them and their work and their skill set and their, what they can bring to the program. I think that's very important. I also think maybe something that, I don't know, something in my head kind of made thinking a little bit. In the new NIL world, where there's so much player movement and so much, roster drain and roster turnover every single year, OU's taken a lot of their 3-stars have been from Oklahoma, right? And I think that there may be, it's easier to keep the bulk of your roster together if they are from the region or something like that, right? That, they don't get homesick. They don't want to go, my girlfriend's going so-and-so or wherever. I mean, famously, Oklahoma gets a 5-star safety because his girlfriend goes to OU. It's like, if you hold on to these players within the region, I think it's helpful. Like, I always use the 300-mile rule more than just like the in-state rule. But I think it all kind of flies into that same thing of, you have a region, and if Oklahoma's region really doesn't overlap that much with the rest of them. I think, Dallas and Austin or whatever, but all that's Oklahoma's kind of unchallenged in some of those spots. I guess you could say maybe Missouri and Arkansas, but like, are we serious here? I think it's important to lock down the state of Oklahoma so that when the state does produce the talent that it is right now, the parents who talk to each other, all that kind of stuff, it's all there. You all know we're taken care of. Who's the McAllister safety? I don't think he's no longer on the roster.
Eric McCarty was his name.
Yes, even something like that, where it's like you took him because you got a spot, you filled in, you knew who's just going to be a camp player or something like that. But it's helpful because those guys are on 7-on-7s. I think it's just helpful. Because every year you're building, like this 2007 class, you're taking kids who are going to influence the 2009, the 29 class, right? Or the 27 class is going to influence the 29 classes, which is going to influence the 31 class, all that kind of thing. So you're building this out in like a rolling 5-year span every single time. I remember when, and now I'm ranting a little bit. I remember when Brent first, his first year, he's like, Sooner Caravan is back. We're going to Tulsa. We're going to Broken Arrow. We're going to lot. They Howard did those things because it was, you have to go out there and shake hands. And it's the same thing with why he has to go down to Texas a lot. I mean, those Texas high school coaches, you got to go kiss the ring. You got to go shake their hands. You got to tell them how great they are. I mean, that's part of the game that certain coaches, like a Lincoln Riley, who thinks he's probably smarter than the other people in the room, probably doesn't like, bowing the head to another guy who thinks he's below him or something like that. Brent is, I feel like any one of us could sit down at Brent, have a beer, and just talk about ball for a while. Just about anybody, right? So I think that's just something that really separates him from that. And if you keep stacking that up, eventually things are going to do well for you. And on 24/7, Oklahoma has its score total, point total currently is like the exact same as the 2025 class or 2026 class ended. So like they're in a pretty good spot right now with spots to fill.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think OU's ever had the number 1 recruiting class, like since recruiting has been a quote unquote science. Like the recruiting classes of the 70s where they had like 12 future college football or NFL Hall of Famers in them. Like, yeah, nobody ranked recruiting classes back then for the most part nationally. But it's a brand new world for OU, and just the state of Oklahoma has become a big part of it. But I mean, you're right with the Eric McCarty example, Peyton, because you take flyers to like, not necessarily like you take flyers with the absolute optimistic hope that, hey, maybe this kid has something and maybe he becomes something. But you also do it to just keep pipelines open, to keep communication open, keep good vibes open with particular high schools or coaches or regions. And I'm not going to sit here and suggest that OU and Jim Nagy like offered Christian Moore, the linebacker from Selma, who's a true freshman on this year's team, because of they want to get into the state of Alabama. But they had been in the state of Alabama recruiting Jameson Roberts, recruiting Jalen Scott or Jalen. Is it Jalen Scott or Jalen Phillips? I think it's Jalen Scott. There's there's 3 or 4 players in the 2027 class that are from the state of Alabama. And offering and signing Christian Moore, who was a 2 or 3 star linebacker, former edge rusher earlier in his high school career. It's an absolute flyer because there's not a lot of expectation for him, especially in year 1. But you just like the idea of players that come from that area of the country, come from the South. And if you hit with Christian Moore, then it opens the door potentially for other players from Selma or other players from the region in Alabama. And OU's already made an inroads into the state of Alabama with like the 3 or 4 guys they've got currently verbaled for 2027. And most of those guys are a big reason why OU has the number 1 recruiting class in 2027. So recruiting is not always about hoping that the guy that you sign currently is going to be the next Sam Bradford or next Teddy Lehman or whatever it might be. It's for keeping options open down the road. Well, I won't say any names, but somebody I used to talk to a lot with the OU football used to have the idea that back then, during the Lincoln Riley era, OU doesn't need to be wasting its time recruiting players in Louisiana or the South because it's a fool's errand, especially if they're defensive players. And my argument against that was, you're right from the standpoint of, I don't expect OU to win a lot of those battles, but if they're ever going to win some, they have to try. So when you're not even on the final table, like with the hats, when you're not even on it, well, one, like that sucks. But if you keep trying, maybe you get your hat on that table for the next crop of players. And then maybe you break through. Like that's the whole point of recruiting is, I mean, it sounds corny, but trying. So, Matt, like what Jim Nagy and Brent Minnels have been able to do is we talked about all last season. They checked Brent checked a lot of boxes from a coaching standpoint. He's righted the ship from a recruiting standpoint because that was like his selling point with the 2 bad seasons was the recruiting has been so damn good. Like even from a historical standpoint, it's been so damn good. And if he checks just a few more boxes coaching wise, it really does seem like OU is priming itself up for some fairly unprecedented success, considering that, well, they're in the SEC now. So unprecedented success could still be 9-3, 8-4, or 11-1 for all you know.
Yeah, very, very impressed with the recruiting so far. I want to dial a little bit back to your Lincoln Riley point, and this is, I don't want to be mistaken for sticking up for Lincoln Riley at any point. So I don't put that in the papers that I was backing Lincoln Riley or anything like that. I don't know how many times he had 2 5-star tackles and a borderline 5-star corner in state for him to actually like go recruit. So but that's the thing is like, I mean, I feel like Brent, whenever he got here, he was like, yeah, no, I'm going to recruit the state of Oklahoma. Like that's for sure a thing that's going to happen. And he's been a man of his word. And like to Peyton's point of him doing this, doing that whenever he got the job. I mean, I think that's just bearing a lot of fruit for, hey, not only does he have all these guys committed from Oklahoma right now, they're committed pretty early in the process, especially both Cooper Hackett and Caden Penny. So yeah, that, and then if Gabriel Osborne, I mean, that's amazing, man. It's awesome. I haven't seen that dude play football yet, but I've seen him play basketball. That dude is an athlete, man. So looking forward to seeing him there. But I mean, recruiting, killing it right now. It's still funny when I look on 3, it's like OU's nationally ranked on 3 second, and but they still have the second ranked SEC class. It's like an SEC team is in front of them. Texas A&M right now. It's just crazy, man. The SEC is just a different beast, but it feels like there's sort of all like a perfect, I don't know. If I'm looking at the top 5 rated recruits, this is not taking away from any recruiting efforts of anybody, but Cooper Hackett, Caden Penny, Gabe Osborne, all from the state of Oklahoma. You've been killing Oklahoma recruiting, and this is like you just simply couldn't not get these guys. Like I don't think Oklahoma's in a position to not get these guys. And then the other two are basically because Jason Witten agreed to be the tight end coach here at OU, and Seneca Driver and Cooper Witten. Those are Oklahoma's top five commits in this class. But dude, you need to get some breaks at times. You have to catch some breaks. Some breaks need to fall your way in this. But again, not taking away any recruiting efforts from anybody, but it does feel like a perfect storm right now, especially at the top of OU's recruiting class. And hey, them's the breaks, man. Them's the breaks. Sometimes it breaks your way, sometimes it doesn't. Right now, it's definitely breaking OU's way.
I mean, this kind of reminds me, Peyton, when we were talking about the absolute mission Brent Venables needs to accomplish in terms of signing David Stone. David Stone, of course, represents kind of a unique situation because the state of Oklahoma doesn't get to claim him in terms of like the prep status because he went to IMG Academy in Florida, but he's an Oklahoman. And that's how you treated him. That's how I treated him. That's how Matt treated him. Alan treated him. It was a player that you just could not afford to lose because it was the first time that OU signed an absolute star in the making at that position at interior of defensive line. Now, of course, Jaden Jackson was a day one starter. David Stone was not, but this is coming from a program that for almost 2 decades hadn't signed a defensive lineman like David Stone since Jamarcus McFarland. Like it had just been so damn long. And so the recruiting win for David Stone meant a lot more than just, the awesomeness of getting a great player in David Stone, but it was just, you've got to keep your great talent from the state of Oklahoma to go, like you got to keep them in Norman once they go to college. So it's just weird to me, Peyton, that in just a few years, like we've gone from one extreme to the other when it comes to OU's recruiting, and you can only credit Brent and now Jim Nagy for that.
Yeah, I mean, you credit Brent, you credit the staff. I mean, especially on the defensive side, you've got defensive tackle coach, defensive end coach. I mean, just really raking them in. McCullough's already doing a great job in the running backs. It's not just Brent, right? Brent's a closer, right? He's bringing guys in, he's getting it done, but he's put together a staff where there's not necessarily a weak point in the recruiting. You know what I mean? I mean, it just seems to be strength all there. And then Nagy, obviously, I mean, if he truly is, and this is the stuff too where we're going to find out, and this is going to take some time, right? We're talking about, can you identify 3 stars that have traits of 4 stars, that have traits of 5 stars, and like that? And he's talked kind of a big game about that, of like, we're looking at these guys, we're looking at certain traits, we're looking at this stuff where we think this guy is severely underrated, or something like that. The 4 stars and the 5 stars and stuff like that, you're hoping Oklahoma has a normal hit rate, but you get this guy, you bring this GM in as a scout for finding all those 3 stars. I mean, even though the class is rated second in the nation, I don't know how On3 has it broken down. 24/7 has it broken down as a 50% blue chip only, right? I mean, it's like 12 4 stars and 11 3 stars. It's not like it's they've got 5 5 stars and 10 4 stars and 2 3 stars or something. It's still a lot of 3 stars making up most of this recruiting class. So it's just why I don't think they're going to end up with the number. I mean, they'll probably be in the top 7, top 6, something like that. But I think having that many 3 stars is going to keep them from getting into the top 5, top 3. But you're unless there's some like scoring or something like that. But you're hoping those guys are hitting at a higher rate, like a Jaden Jackson, like you're hitting at a much higher rate because you have this scout guy who's saying, look at the ratio. Like I'm going to be a little nerdy here. Like look at the ratio from his ankle to his knee and how it bends when he's in a stance. I mean, they look at that for left tackles. Like, can they actually get that bend correctly? Or when defensive ends, are their ankles flexible enough for you to bend and make up for maybe you have shorter arms like a Bain out of Miami or something. He's like, yeah, he has short arms, but he can also bend where he's like 2 inches off the ground. So like, what are you going to do? And stuff like that, where a real scout is looking at that stuff. It is, taking that money ball approach, but not in the like we're cheap money ball approach and saying like we're finding all the guys who do the things we need them to do, and we're going to coach them to make them better football players. To me, that is where the GM is going to make his hay. If the game, the pretty big game he's talked since he's been in Norman, if they do that, if those 3-stars start hitting, you start going, wow, this is like, yeah, 3-star you, let's go. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that will be if he is there, because Brent's recruited really, really well before he got here. Now it's about, are we identifying talent at a higher rate up and down that score system?
Yeah. Jimmy in the chat thinks you'll finish top 5. I mean,
top 5,
I tend to
for sure. We're there.
Top 5.
I mean, I think they're at 252 points right now, and they already have 23 got 20. I mean,
yeah,
it's going to have to be a big class, unless a lot of those 3-stars get bumped to 4s.
Yeah, they're in on at least one 4-star right now that could very well commit. I believe he's a offensive tackle. Can't remember his name, but just some. I found the story I wrote back in. I mean, when was this? Back in September. It was right after, I believe, Caden Penny and Cooper Hackett signed, or not signed, when they committed to OU verbally. Just some added context to what Venables kind of cleaned up from an in-state recruiting standpoint. But Matt, I mean, Matt, you're right. Like, some of it is just circumstance. Brent has kind of presided over OU during a time where the state has put out a lot more talent.
But you have to capitalize, and the previous regime was not capitalizing on that.
Yeah, and just to have the context, so I wrote, when Venables inherited OU in late 2021, OU had only brought in 11 of the state's top 40 players in the previous 4 classes. That's just the top 40 players in the state of Oklahoma, not the top 40 players in the country. But OU collectively in 4 recruiting classes had only brought in 11 of those top 40. All put together. 5 of those 11 were signed in Riley's first class in 2018. So a good portion of them were probably recruited by Bob Stoops because they were, you heavily recruit players when they're juniors. So that timeline kind of tracks. From there, Riley only brought in 2 top 10 players from the state of Oklahoma in each year from 2019 to 2021. And then furthermore, it was Venables who finally did land the state's #1 player in the 2021 class. That would be Kendall Daniels. And the #3 player in the 2019 class, that would be Trace Ford, both from Oklahoma State out of the transfer portal. So again, sometimes it's just the circumstance, but like you said, Matt, it is, you've got to capitalize when the talent presents itself. And just as just as an observation, Peyton, maybe I'm wrong, does seem like Oklahoma, the state, just puts out more defensive talent. Like, whenever there's talent out of the state that's higher ranked, it seems like it's mostly on the defensive side of the football, which is, I don't know, it's just odd to me. I wouldn't begin to know how to explain it.
No, I wouldn't begin to explain it either, other than it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to think of like a reason of why that could be or something like that, but no, I truly don't know at that point in time. I will say, this might sound in a weird way like a circular logic. I do think when the big university is recruiting out of its state, that does have a tendency to increase state talent due to the fact of more kids are being picked up, and so which causes the high schools to potentially invest more in the sports, or more, I think there is a little bit of that where you're seeding the ground to a certain degree. If you leave it barren, then it's tough for the stuff to grow. But if you're continually, getting the guys and going from there, I think there's a chance for it to kind of help out. So I think Oklahoma recruiting in state will only cause the talent to go up, because I don't know, just seems to be a higher availability, just in my mind. It's a little caveman thought I had.
No, I like it. I mean, that's what off-season podcasts are for, is to ask big questions that we cannot answer at all. So, but it's what makes them interesting to listen to. But yeah, like OU's cooking in recruiting, and they're starting summer conditioning this week, if not already. We've got SEC Media Day, July 21st, I believe. That would be a Monday. That would be the day Brent Venables talks. So OU's on the first day this year, but you got to wait a few more weeks for SEC Media Day. And then essentially a week later, OU will begin fall camp. So we've got this month, guys. We've got July, and we only have the Spurs to hold us over, or OU baseball if they're able to get 2 over the Kansas Jayhawks in Lawrence this weekend, so that we can watch OU sports on the big stage in college baseball. That would be exciting. But anything else, Matt, Peyton? Anything else you wanted to jump on?
I think that's it for me. Shout out Dayton Taki one more time.
Yeah, just a guy who had been kind of yanked in and out of the lineup all year, but he has been an absolute catalyst for this team, like hitting the ball, like just plate performance. Deaton LaChance, of course, has been the big hitter in the last handful of weeks. He had 3 home runs against Tennessee in the regular season finale. Had a grand slam against Georgia Tech earlier in the week. So he's like the power hitter, but ever since Skip put Dayton Taki back into the starting lineup from the end of the regular season against Tennessee until now, it's like OU is a much different team hitting the ball, and he's been a big reason why. And while Kansas is going to present a very tough challenge for OU, we know you did just down the number 2 team in the country, so they should feel very confident going into Lawrence, a venue that OU as a program has won a lot over the years. They should also just be riding a good wave of momentum. So OU in baseball, the way their team is, because baseball is always kind of weird. They're a team that you just don't want to play this time of year because you just don't feel good about the mojo they've got carrying over there. So hopefully Sooner Magic prevails in Lawrence as we look ahead to the weekend. But yeah, there you guys have it. For all the non-NBA fans out there, sorry you had to sit through a handful of minutes of us talking about the Western Conference Finals, but my God, it was fun. And we've got a Spurs fan and a Thunder fan or Thunder person of interest on this podcast. And there's not that much to talk about with OU football. Guess what? There will be soon, but we'll be there every single week trying to soak water out of the rock of information to talk to you about OU football. So we try our best, but everybody, thank you so much for listening or watching through the Keyhole. We've enjoyed doing a few public shows. We get a little bit more chatter in the chat box when we do them publicly. So truly appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe to Through the Keyhole's YouTube channel. Whenever we do these on Patreon for our patrons, again, patreon.com/thekeyhole. All that means is you don't get to jump in as a live viewer or commenter unless you're a patron. We will then put it up on our YouTube channel after we've hit the record button and finished recording. So you just have to wait a little bit longer, but it goes out to all the podcast feeds anyway. But everybody, thank you so much for continuing to listen or listening along. We truly appreciate that. But for the absent Alan Kinney and the present Peyton Guthrie and Matt Burton, myself, Brady Trantham, everybody, see you later. Thank you for listening. Until next time. Power.